Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of Duncombe House Kitchen. Not in the kitchen at Duncombe House, because we don't have one there yet. Today we are going to be creating what, in my opinion, is not only the most delectable dish to originate from the Alps, but is quite possibly one of the most delicious preparations of cheese and potato on this planet. Tartiflette was first mentioned in Le Cuisinier Royal et Bourgeois, a book written by a gentleman called François Marceliot in 1705. The majestic tartiflette not only has a fabulous name, it also originates from a fabulous place, and you guessed it, tastes fabulous. Allow me to enumerate you with the ingredients required for a Duncombe House tartiflette. Now, I cannot be the only person who experiences mild frustration when recipes presume to know how much I can or cannot eat, and therefore how many people a certain dish may serve. So I will be entirely honest with you, the following will serve between 2 and 10, depending entirely on their constitutions. However, fear not, as this tartiflette is exceptional heated up the next day, so wastage is highly unlikely regardless of how much you over-cater. We will require 2 kilograms of Maris Piper or Charlotte potatoes. Now, deciding on the most appropriate potato for your tartiflette is arguably the single most important element. Boiling the potatoes to perfection is a process fraught with danger and can test even the bravest of souls. A Maris Piper potato is more widely accessible than a Charlotte potato. However, due to its playful, fluffy nature, the Maris can prove challenging to slice once boiled. However, if one can overcome this, they will certainly be rewarded on the palate. Our second option, the Charlotte, is a waxier yellow variety, which is still an exceptional potato for the task. Due to its slightly stronger consistency, it's far easier and more forgiving once boiled and the slicing begins. For me, despite the potential for catastrophe, if one can master the Maris, the reward is well worth the risk, and you will find you have a far more homogeneous tartiflette, opposed to one that, with the Charlottes, can present with slightly stricter layers, more reminiscent of a Dauphinoise. Next, we have the not-so-secret but arguably essential ingredient, which is Reblochon cheese. This cheese is entirely synonymous with tartiflette, and although I am told that one can substitute it with Comte or even a Brie or Camembert, I cannot personally profess to their efficacy. Depending on where in the world you call home, this cheese may take some hunting down, and if you aren't able to procure it from your local supermarket, I would suggest frequenting a local delicatessen or specialist cheese shop. There's also no hiding the fact that because this cheese comes all the way from the Alps, it is certainly not the cheapest of ingredients. However, I assure you wholeheartedly that it is worth the investment. To make a tartiflette for between 2 and 10 people, I would suggest around 800 grams. Now, I've never done it personally, but I see absolutely no reason whatsoever why, if you are vegetarian, then you couldn't omit the following ingredient. For me, however, tartiflette is simply not quite the same without lardons and smoked bacon. I would suggest purchasing approximately 300 grams of smoked lardons and 400 grams of smoked streaky bacon. In addition, we will require approximately 1 litre of double cream, 2 large white onions, 2 cloves of garlic, 250 millilitres of inexpensive white wine, some salad of your choosing, and French dressing, which we will be making ourselves. It's terribly simple and merely requires a little olive oil, white wine vinegar, and some Dijon mustard. Naturally, as always, our good friends Salt and Pepper are invited to the party, and I would also suggest enjoying your tartiflette with a lovely glass of Cab Sauv. And if it happens to fall open during the cooking process, I would suggest having a little sip just to check it's not corked. Quick disclaimer, I often find it quite frustrating trying to follow strict timings and temperatures with recipes, primarily because they never seem to be that accurate. So I will endeavour to give you guidelines at best, but please, for best results, simply apply a little common sense. Step 1. First things first, we need to get those lovely potatoes on the boil. As I always say, fortune favours the foolhardy, so today we will be wrestling with the mighty Maris. I would suggest evening out the sizes so that they are approximately the size of lacrosse balls. You will notice I have left the skins on. This is for two reasons. Firstly, I believe them to add flavour, and secondly, it helps immeasurably when one comes to slice them. Place your potatoes into a pan of salted, cold water. Bring them to the boil and then allow them to simmer until a skewer comfortably travels through them, but before they begin to disintegrate. I did warn you this part was fraught with danger. Once they are ready, carefully remove them from the water and set them aside where they can cool. Step 2. Either whilst the potatoes are boiling, or if like me and you tend to struggle doing more than one thing at a time, once they are boiled, we can prepare our delicious onion and bacon filling. Start by frying your lardons until they have a delicate, lovely crisp to them. Fetch them from the pan with a slotted spoon and set them aside. Next up, dice the majority of your streaky bacon and fry it off in exactly the same manner before decanting it into exactly the same bowl. Make sure you save 4 slices of streaky bacon or so for a little decoration at the end. Step 3. Now it's time to dice those onions, or in my case, ask Jazzy to dice the onions because frankly I become a weeping fool if I even try. Dice your 2 garlic cloves and then gently soften all of it together in the same pan, adding a generous helping of our white wine. Once your onions are beautifully translucent, add back in your bacony mixture and stir through to allow all the flavours to catch up with one another. Set the entire lot aside, take 3 deep breaths and prepare to face the potatoes. Step 4. At this stage, it's awfully handy to have everything within reaching distance, as we are about to embark on a construction project of Brunellian proportions. Take a good sharp knife and slice your marices as thinly as possible, which in reality will likely be approximately the same thickness as 2 after 8s. Lay the foundations of your tartiflette in a buttered, oven-proof dish of your choosing. Once you have your potato substrate in place, it's time to apply a generous layer of Reblochon, taking care to ensure that you have enough for 3 complete layers. Now we can add our bacony goodness. Again, ensure you ration the mixture to allow enough for 3 equal layers. Pour over a healthy helping of double cream, slightly oxymoronic I realise, and then lightly season with some salt and pepper. Then we simply repeat the process twice more until there is no more room at the inn. Step 5. At this stage we will finally be placing our tartiflette into the oven. At, I frankly have no idea how many degrees, but I would guess 180 degrees C would probably do the job. Because we are cooking on an Aga here, it is anybody's guess how long it is going to take to cook, but I will set my first timer for 30 minutes. If you are cooking with a conventional oven, I would suggest simply checking back on your tartiflette the very same each 30 minutes or so to see how it's getting on. It's an awfully good idea to put a tray underneath your tartiflette, as I can almost guarantee there will be an abundance of splurge. When your tartiflette looks a little bit like this, it's time, if you wish, to add a little je ne sais quoi by using the remaining streaky bacon as decoration. Return the dish to the oven and then cook for probably another 15 to 20 minutes. Step 6. Whilst you're waiting for your tartiflette to crisp up to perfection, you can whip up a quick French dressing, which we find exquisitely cuts through the savoury flavours of this dish, hugely adding to the taste sensation. Add 1 teaspoon or so of Dijon mustard, with a generous splash of white wine vinegar and an even more generous gargle of olive oil. Whisk together and hey presto, suddenly you can call yourself an expert of French cuisine. Step 7. Gently remove your tartiflette from the oven. Naturally, it will be hotter than the sun, so do watch out. Allow a few moments for it to rest, and then it's finally time to unleash the beast. Add your salad, which is not only delicious, but essentially makes this a health food recipe. Relax and enjoy the flavours of the French Alps. If this is your first time eating tartiflette, let me warn you, life will simply never be the same again. Oh, and I nearly forgot. Under absolutely no circumstances whatsoever, allow the crispy cheese to go to waste. Thank you ever so much for joining us here today. If you have any questions at all, please do nourish us with them in the comments. Ladies and gentlemen, TTFN.